Okay, and we are live.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody in chat. Thank you for joining Sherry and I. Um, so, to start off right away, for YouTube and anybody who starts to, watch this on playback, this in no way is in any disrespect to the
No.
lives lost and the families that are grieving the loss of their loved ones. Um, for me, I have whether you believe in past lives or not, I have a past life connection to the Titanic. And like I was sharing with Sherry backstage before we started, 2 days before the submersible tragedy, I had a dream about the Titanic. And I woke up because it's weird because I haven't dreamt about it in a very long time. Sometimes memories and things kind of, come around and float up in my dreams from time to time. But this was completely outfield. And I was just kind of like shaken up a little bit. I didn't know what was going on, why I was, dreaming about this. And then 2 days later, it was like, oh my God, now it makes sense. Um, Now, we all have been watching the news. We know Sherry doesn't know too much, but
I
I
just know
wanted to
basically what the headlines,
say
what's been in the headlines. It's
that
snippets here and there,
obviously,
but I don't really know any real
well,
details.
as we've all seen on the news, like Sherry has, first of all, the owner, Mr. Stockton, or Mr. Stockton Rush, he was just apparently just choosing, money over the safety of his vessel. He was cutting quarters left and right using game controllers, parts from Home Depot. Um, he was using the material from Boeing um, that was on sale because Boeing can't use it anymore because of its shelf life had expired. So
Boy, that
he
gives you
was,
confidence, doesn't it?
yeah. And actually, last year, a member of, I think it was CBS News, one of the newsmen actually went on a tour, and he was showing off saying, this is how I control it. Here's the control, and it was obvious to him that this was not safe, that there had even been last summer time lost where they did lose connection with the surface. And that should have been a red flag right there.
Well, and like I was telling you backstage, the one interview that I did see about it, and it was just a little short, like 1 minute, 2 minute clip,
Mm-hmm.
but they were talking to a prior employee
Mm-hmm.
of the company, and it was him and another guy who worked with the design features or something, who said there
Yeah.
are catastrophic flaws in your design. You need to get this fixed before you start going down under those pressures, because I don't think people as a whole understand the tremendous amount of pressure
Mm-hmm.
that anything that's an encased system that
Yep.
goes
Carbon
down that
fiber.
I
Carbon fiber.
mean, human beings, our bodies would literally implode upon itself because the
Mm-hmm.
pressure would be so great. Um, that's why it's so dangerous for scuba divers. When they go back up to surface back up,
You have
they
to go
have
very
to do it
slow.
in intervals and let their body's pressurized system, equal out. My son was in the Navy. He was a sonar tech. One of the pieces of equipment, a multi-million dollar piece of equipment that he was responsible for taking care of, was what's called the sonar dome. And it's like a little clear bubble that's on the front of a ship
Like this
underneath,
one. Mm-hmm.
and it's pressurized.
Yep.
And that's so they can get accurate readings of what's in the water around them. They can send pings out, get pings in. And if when he would have to go in the room to work on stuff, he would have to go through a pressurized system, just like if he was scuba diving or something. He
Mm-hmm.
would have to go in and be pressurized to the point that that dome was at in order to enter the room to work on stuff. And then he could only stay in there for a certain amount of time before he had to come back out. And then they had to repressurize him back to normal a normal state of being. So yeah, I mean, just because he was doing that, I made a point of learning about pressurizing stuff. It was like,
Mhm.
that's my baby
And
we're talking about. I want to know how that works. So, um,
and the
yeah,
carbon that they were using, though that carbon can only survive multiple, maybe one or two trips. What they
right,
should have been using on that would be should have been a one time only, because when you go down and you pressurize, it's keeping the thing safe, yeah, but it's wearing on the materials that's keeping that vehicle, that submersible, intact. And he was not paying attention to the engineers. He wasn't listening to anybody's concern. He was taking 250 grand per person to be on this thing. And it's just, it came down to, I think, ego. He wanted to brag about being the one to take people down there. Like I said, cutting quarters, just doing whatever he could to make, that extra buck. And before we get too much further, we have a lot of people popping in the chat.
yeah, I'm seeing
We have
that.
Sylvia. We have Miss Taro D. Hello, my dear. Thank you again for
My
last
love
night.
of my
It was
life.
a blast.
I
Hello,
asked his
Miss
husband if he could be my
Nancy.
sweetie, and his husband said yes, as long as I can too. So I said, okay,
Oh,
you're both my sweeties then.
and we have Sonia Pinola, or Sanja Pinola. I hope I said your name right, my dear.
I believe
Yes,
it's just pronounced Sonia.
Sonia. And yes,
Yeah. There's
this
several different
this
spellings for that name, so
yeah, there's
and I
no
have seen that
disrespect
spelling. So
meant to any of the families or to those lost. For me, this is going to focus too more like on a spiritual level connection.
oh, that's
Um,
right. Happy Canada Day, everybody.
yes, happy Canada. I saw Marina is in chat. I didn't get to her yet. So, Marina, happy
And
Canada Day.
Tara's
We have
here too.
Andrea and Miss Septina. Happy Canada Day, my dear. And I did see Aries Girl. Hello, sweetheart. She popped in.
Hi,
Tara asked
Eloquent.
backwards. Teresa Levine. Oh my
Wait,
goodness.
Tara asks backwards, whatever it is. What is your name? I've been seeing you in chat, but I don't know what your name is.
His picture almost looks like remember Jeff Bailey? Doesn't he kind of look like Mr. Bailey?
He does. He
I'm
looks like
just
a cross
wondering,
between
did you
Jeff
change your
Bailey
channel name?
and he looks like a cross between Dean and Jeff.
And there's Miss Marina.
Hi,
Hello.
Marina.
One of my fellow sisters. And I'm going through here again to see if I missed anybody.
Sharon, did you get Sharon?
Sharon, it's quite understandable. I know it was kind of last minute. Miss
Oh,
Sharon's
Sheila's here.
driving around on her motorcycle today, enjoying the
Oh,
holiday.
having
Hello.
fun.
Oh my goodness! Every time I think I'm done going through the list,
Somebody else pops in. Yeah.
oh my goodness! Hello, Sheila. Welcome.
Sheila's here. Yay.
Yep, she says that's Jeff Bailey. I thought I recognized that picture, so that is Jeff.
Okay, thank
Ah,
you. I mean, it's like he's been showing up everywhere, and I'm like, I know
you
that
had me
face. Who
fooled.
is that? It just
Okay,
I'm
so
so bad with names anyway.
we've
So
got everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this for us, so it's easier for people to see the cards. So just a little bit of a background into the individuals. What I found out was that the owner, Stockton Rush, his wife Wendy, she is actually the great great granddaughter of Isidore and Ida Strauss, co-owners of Macy's, and they actually both went down on the Titanic. So when I heard that, even right now, I'm getting
yeah, I got
goosebumps
goosebumps when you told me
from
that.
that. Now, Paul Andre Negro, no, Nejolet. I'm sorry, I'm trying to learn how to pronounce French words properly. He was a French maritime um, expert. He actually helped with the discovery of the Titanic, and he was director of the underwater research for RMS Titanic Incorporated. And what made me a little like curious or a little put off energy wise was that he had to have seen the flaws in this machine. I mean, if he made all of those multiple trips in a more professional, vehicle, like along with James Cameron, I don't know why he didn't have his spidey senses, and maybe they were, and he still went along. I'm not sure. And then we have Hamash Harding, who is chairman of Action Aviation, and he's like a one of those explorers. He loves to explore. He's got like 3 Guinness World Records. And then what I really found interesting was Dawood and his son Sulman. Now the son didn't want to even go down. I heard that he was kind of guilt tripped into going because daddy wanted to do it. So that was a really loss of young life right there. That young man's his future. But what's interesting, Dawood was vice chair of Engro, which is a Pakistan energy investment company. But also he was connected to NASA. He was a part of the SETI Institute program, and SETI, for those in the UFO community, know that is NASA's non-for-profit study of extraterrestrial life outside of the planet. So I thought that was interesting, as well. And then also, I'm looking for the gentleman. There was also another gentleman, one of the gentlemen's. Um, okay, he was actually, I have it separate here, but he was actually friends with King Charles and had actually donated to King Charles's charity. So I just found that just so many different individuals, the histories, the energy, and to talk about kind of like the white elephant in the room.
Yeah.
The
Charles
Titanic is a
big
gravesite.
proponent of the environmental stuff. He's like really, really pushes the environmental stuff.
Who did? Oh yeah, James Cameron.
King
Yeah.
Charles. King Charles is big
Oh, King
time
Charles.
behind uh, fixing the environment, so to speak.
Yeah. So the kind of like they say the main white elephant that's in the room issue is that the Titanic is a gravesite, and
Yeah.
we all know that you know I'm sure that there must be spirits hanging around still down there that's traumatized by what happened to them even hundreds of years ago. Um, I mean, I had a past life, and I still have memories and dreams that pop up from time to time. And I would not be surprised. I mean, this is the energy that was coming to me, was in some way, was this any form of karmic um, retribution too for visiting a gravesite for amusement? There's research, and then there's, you know, amusement, thrill seeking. I guess a lot of these guys were all thrill seekers, and that's a lot of reasons why they wanted to go down there. Um, So Sherry, I see you already shuffling. I don't know. Did you ask a
I'm
specific question, or
I
you just
haven't
gave?
asked a specific question. I've just been
Okay.
shuffling because I haven't used my angel tarot cards in a while. And like I said, I just got the new Healing Waters Oracle deck
I love
that
that.
came in. That came in, and when you emailed me and asked me about it, it was like ding, ding, ding. I thought that's why they sent me that deck.
And
You
I'm going to
know,
be using a lot of Kristen Louise's star room, because
yeah.
this
So
tends
I
to be
just
really
figured I
powerful
would start
readings.
shuffling and just
Yes.
I'll let whatever energies need to
Okay.
speak
Yeah.
come through without a specific question in the beginning,
Okay.
is how I was looking at it.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. I just got cold chills down my spine. First card I pulled, the Healing Lagoon.
Great. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
The
I got
Healing
you.
Lagoon. It says rejuvenate, recovery, time to
Okay.
heal. It's safe to stop. And that was the first card I pulled from the Oracle deck. I want to see what that means. If there's more to that.
Yeah, this is interesting. So I pulled for general energy, and I got harvest. And now, from my perspective and my energy, harvesting, and like I said, this is, you know, if anybody ever feels that's in chat right now that feels uncomfortable with the energy or the messages that, you know, please, I don't mind if you have to leave. And for YouTube, this is entertainment purposes only. But when I get the card harvest, and you see all these little different blades of grass and wheat, to me it feels like the souls that are down still within the Titanic. When you would take stuff up from the ship, it's kind of like, to me, I heard harvesting of souls. It's like that energy, that's still that angry energy, the energy that is our grave site should not be used for entertainment, should not be for amusement rides. I use amusement rides because to me that was allow them an amusement for them. I got inspiration, and I also got metamorphosis. And for me, with the word inspiration, if you look at the card and it's like that drawing in the design, and it's a swirl and it's going downward, it feels like that inspiration, whatever it was that wanted to have them go down without him properly having that containment, that submersible contained properly, taken care of properly. It was like they were designing their fate. There's the swirl, it's going down. It's like, they're being sucked down. They're going to be joining. Unfortunately, I hope they don't. Oh, I hate to say this, but it just feels like they were going down to visit a gravesite for fun, and now that's their gravesite. It's almost kind of like, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but
Sylvia just said that as you're talking about this, the energy got lighter.
okay. So it feels like, in a way. So this is just what showed two in my hand, and I got metamorphosis was my last card, so that automatically says it's the end of one life and it transform into another life. And so, at one point, I do want to ask the cards because it popped into my head.
Okay, I want to read my second card before you go to the
Oh,
next question.
okay.
And
Sorry
oh,
about this.
okay, the next one I had pulled was the Knight of Fire. And on this, it says a sudden event that needs immediate attention. Time is of the essence.
Wow.
Think things through. I can't see, it's dark. Think things through carefully. That was my second one after I pulled the Healing Lagoon.
Oh, I'm going to mute myself.
So,
So, what I want to ask the cards now is, was this tragedy meant to happen? And the reason why I'm asking my cards that is because when the Titanic went down, so many people perished because there was not enough lifeboats on board. And it was the ego of the captain plowing through that iceberg field, knowing darn well that it was dangerous to do so, but he wanted to make record time. He wanted to show off the ship and what he can do as a captain.
well, and from my
Same.
understanding, he was being forced in a lot of ways as well. It
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
different sides of the story. Yeah, it
yeah,
was like he was pushed. He was like,
it wasn't his sole decision to ignore the warnings of ice, and there were several factors. The fact that it was one of those kind of nights where the water wasn't choppy, so
yeah,
you're not going to see breaking waves against an iceberg. So they had that going against them as well. And because of design flaws that were never
addressed
even
on the ship.
considered
Yes.
possible,
Yep.
that didn't help, so to speak. So
Exactly. So that goes into the Titan. He went down knowing that his ship I mean, he was warned. He had to know in the back of his mind that, that this was not safe. Now, whether or not it was similar to like the captain on the Titanic, where the company, but he was the CEO, so he was, in charge of the company, unless there were backers who said to him, "You really need to do this." I think the company might have been starting to lose some money, and maybe that's why he pushed ahead anyways and went along with it. That could be, but because the Titanic sank and so many people lost their lives because there wasn't enough lifeboats on the ship, that made the the government and the laws in place that there had to be as many lifeboats on those liner ships as there were
And the
passengers, so that this would not happen again.
the SOS systems that were in place at that time were actually SOS that you would hear today, that reaction to emergency, we need help, was just being implemented into maritime laws. So there were a lot of ships that they didn't even have people on staff that were monitoring their
Yeah.
their, their equipment after,
Guidance.
say, dinner time or whatever, because it had never been part of their structure before. So and it was something new. So there were uh, there were a lot of people that might would have been close enough to help and save a lot more lives than were saved.
And another problem too is that because of the first class passengers, a lot of them had half the boats were empty because they didn't want the lower class in the boats with them. So with the Titan, now that this tragedy has happened, they have to really start pushing now, I think, for licensing, making sure that these vehicles, these submersibles, when they go down, hopefully no one goes down there again for a very long time, in respect out of what just happened. But in the future, when they start doing more deep sea diving, whether to explore, sunken ships or to explore the ocean, because right now, a lot of our military, a lot of people are destroying the oceans because of the sonar testing, because of the military weapon testing. We are having so many of our sea life being killed, damaged, um, mutated.
The
The
melting of
poisons
the
and
ice,
everything that's going in there as
the
well.
melting of the glaciers and stuff is dumping fresh water into salt water around the world, which is changing the ecosystems in the oceans because they weren't designed for fresh water.
Hmm.
They're designed around salt water. So
Yeah.
right, Allison, I like what Allison just said.
Yeah. Isn't bad.
Sending cameras and stuff down to explore, to study, to see what more can we learn from this, even though it's been over 100 years now. I mean, there's still things we can learn from this.
Exactly.
Um,
And we're going to have to learn now from this tragedy as well. And that has to do with the construction of these vehicles. They have to be put through rigorous testing multiple times to make sure that, okay, how many times can we use the submersible now before it's like, okay, we can't use it anymore because, the carbon, whatever, the carbon fibers, can't withstand, making sure that they have proper, um, you know, wiring, have the proper, I mean, he had like a Game Boy, not a Game Boy, but a very basic, game controller, for directing and stuff, making sure that these vehicles are top notch in safety. Safety should always come first. And my car that I did get, because I asked if this was meant to happen, and unfortunately I got the strays card. And so I'm feeling like, unfortunately, this did have to happen, especially with the karmic ties behind it. I did get rebirth. So this rebirth to me is that in their deaths, and because of their deaths, there is going to be more laws. People are craving, so people are going to be demanding that new licensing. new rigorous testing, making sure that the parts are high standard, high quality. And then the last card I got sent it home for me. It was a divine offering. So even though this is an unfortunate tragedy, it's also a divine offering to make things much more safer, to save more lives in the future, when it comes to the exploration
Yeah.
of, ships, airplanes. I mean, we know more about outer space than we do in our own oceans. And I just want to check.
There's still areas of land on this planet that's
Let's
never
see. And I
been
know Miss Tarot D
seen,
had
you know.
something.
Um,
Um, so Miss Tarot D was talking to Alice, and she goes, but my question to myself and thinking about all this is, how different is it from touring the graveyards in New Orleans? And I thought that would be that would interest you, and what your insight would be, because
yeah,
you're right there.
yeah. And I'm a
You,
person that visits graveyards, and it's not to make fun of it, or it's not holiday, so to speak. It's not when I go, it's not in a touristy kind of way. What I enjoy doing when I go to old cemeteries is reading the headstones and the stories that you can find out about the people laid there simply by what's written on their headstones. I mean, today there's a name, there's a date of birth, a date of death, and that's pretty much it. And
mm-hmm,
if they were a veteran or not. And I mean, that's it. There's nothing else on the headstone. Back in the day, they would write poetry, they would write um, prose, they would write all kinds of things to allow those that came after to know who that person was that was laid in that grave.
mm-hmm.
And that's what I enjoy when I go to old graveyards. And so I think it's and again, because it's something that is very touristy down here. And a lot of that is because of where Louisiana is at. We're right at sea level. A lot of places we're below sea level. So the water table is, I mean, dig 6 inches, you got water. It just seeping up out of the ground. Uh, so the because of the where's my
Ding dong, Avon's calling.
I have to take my medicine, it'll wait. So because of the way that the people down here have had to bury their dead, it's very intriguing for other people in other areas of the world to come and see that, because we didn't put our people in the ground. They pop back up because of the water. you know Next thing you know, you got skeletons floating down the street. Let a good hard rain come along, see what happens. And that's how it happened. That's when they went to having concrete uh, uh, mausoleums that they would put their dead in. They would have concrete, almost like tombs that they would put the coffin in above ground. Everything was above ground. And so that's another thing. It was also a means for family and friends to be able to go and do certain prayers or blessings on that grave, because they had a surface that they could work with as far as their juju or whatever magic they were using, you know. And when you get down here, you got a whole lot of different kind of juju that's going on. Um, but in terms of the question you asked, when I pulled cards, the first thing I pulled was the Three of Earth. And I don't know if you can see that. And basically, what it's saying is recognition for very high quality work. Be a team player. That almost sounds contradictory to me, because you had people who were wanting to do the very best work that they could and were being told to hush up about it,
Yep.
and were being told to be a team player. And when they weren't quiet, they were gotten rid of, fired, let go, whatever.
Mhm.
And then I pulled the Ten of Air, um, which talks about, I need to turn my light on, um, the end of a difficult situation. Embrace the change, expect things to get better, recovery. So that's like, wow, I mean, that's kind of really hitting close to what all we've been talking about. And then I pulled the Knight of Fire again. Now, y'all all watch me sit here and shuffle for another 5 minutes. I pulled the same damn card again. And then out of the oracles, I pulled the Wellspring, which talks about what are you thirsty for? Body care, take a breath. Something they were denied, the ability to take a breath. And then I pulled the Mist to see if I could get a clarification on that.
Mhm.
It says, trust your inner compass, be led from within. And I think that's where the young man who died because his dad wanted to go and he didn't. Um, I think that card was specifically referencing him. That was the feeling I got. That
Yeah,
that card was
that's unfortunate. He has whole life ahead of him.
specifically referencing him. That he was not comfortable in going.
So I asked my cards when Sherry was sharing her cards. I was shuffling, and I asked. It's kind of like a two-way question. Did Stockton Rush know that the Titan was compromised? Why, why did he go? And the cards I'm getting were just like, um, so I started off with the rooms because I have like one, three, 9 cards here. Interesting. I have, oops, I have the home card. And so I was like, okay, what does this have to do with home? And I said, well, maybe it could be, you know, for me, I was wondering maybe the home represented the company, the stockholders, maybe people in his family, because as some people might have known that you're coming in a little bit later, his wife Wendy is actually the great great granddaughter of Isidore and Ida Strauss, who died on the original Titanic. And when I asked for a clarification on the home card, I got the lovers. Why did he still go down? He kept doing this, and at the top it says here it was an attraction as a duality, making a choice and the consequences that came with it. um, I got harvest again. Harvesting, he wanted to, you know by doing this, he I think he was so into his ego that his ego overrode his sense of his intuition. Sometimes the greed overruns, and it feels like the harvest had to do with how much money can I make, how much more business can I harvest from, another one of these trips. Because he was asking 250, so that was like $1 million right there on that trip. And the last card I got was vitality. So yes, he wanted to vitalize the company again because the company was starting to show a little bit of losing profit, not as many. And there were like and it just jumped in my head as a reminder. There were like display sheets that they had to sign, waivers, and they were giving what the odds could be, and it was just people didn't care. They were just signing, you know. And so to go with the lovers card, I pulled the other two, and so I got the Ace of Swords. So for him, it was a strategy. It was a mental strength. He convinced himself it was going to be okay. This is a great idea. This is a great strategy for the company. Take them down, show that, it's fine, it's safe, get more business. But then, unfortunately, the last card in that set was Judgment. And there are the souls coming up out of the graves up to the individual. So that one is kind of like, it says here, that's supposed to be like a spiritual awakening, um, heal and ascend to the next level. Well, they did ascend. Um, and then the other 3 cards that came from the star runes was, still me kind of questioning, you know, Why did he go? Was there anything connected with the lost souls that still may hang around down by the ship because of how traumatic and violent their ending was? And so I got the self. And so again, he knew, you know, but he chose to look away. He didn't want to hear about it. I got invocation. I think he was getting the feelings, getting the signs, but he didn't want to. And in the end, what happened? I got the ancestors. And this picture was from around the time
Yeah.
that the ship went down. So here you have the ancestors, the souls. Some of them were just kind of like, okay, enough is enough. Something has to be done to stop disturbing. So I feel like it's a double-edged sword. It's not something necessarily things that, family members, would want to hear or anything, but people have
You
to
can
remember
count on
this is
me,
very
Miss Carol D.
spiritual.
Sorry,
um
didn't mean to interrupt.
oh
He wrote something silly, and I just, I was like, yeah, you can count on me. I'll
yeah.
come fly up there and
Reverse
I'll
trigger trip.
knock some sense into your head.
And Allison was is correct. At least
But
they
now,
died
while
in a
you were
fraction
reading, when
instant.
you pulled your first card, and I was sitting here shuffling, and this one jumped out of the deck, the same card three
Here, let
times.
me pull up.
Same
It's
card came
water
out three times when I was
times. Yep.
shuffling. Four of water, when you were talking about your first
Water.
card you pulled, and it says missing an opportunity, discontentment, or boredom. Open your eyes to the possibilities. That's where the owner was of this company.
Hmm.
That's what his focus was how am I going to make a buck? How am I going to make this grow? How am I going to make money off of this and recoup all of my expenditures that I've already put out? But he wasn't willing to put out enough money to get the best that there was to get. And when you're doing something like this, you can't rely on second best or third best or fifth best. You need to get top of the line quality stuff. And if you can notice with the picture here, it looks like a spirit
Yep. Leaving the
coming out
boat.
of its sunken treasure on the bottom. It just, and like I said, at first I wasn't, when the first time it jumped out of the deck, I didn't think anything about it. And I kept shuffling, and then it jumped out again, and then it jumped out again. I was like, okay, I get the point. You want me to show you. Um, so, what was our next question?
I was just um, wanting to just do a full shuffle on how do the spirits of the Titanic wreck feel about what happened. I know that there are some that felt like this was, a karmic, and here goes the same, almost the same cards again. Um, what I got really quick was I got Breath of Life. And if you look at this, it looks like it's underwater. And when it happened, boom, they were gone in a quick flash, just like that. Boom.
Yeah,
Um, in a way, some of it felt like triumph for them because some of them felt like this was retribution. They finally felt like, unfortunately, that these individuals, the sacrifice had to be made, and they felt like this was a triumph. But also, this triumph also was hoping that it would give people insight to start looking into what it is they're doing, look into their souls, look into the reasons why they do the things that they do, look into like starting to get out of that egocentric self of, you know, excessive entertaining, start looking at your actions affect other people's actions. Just like I'm sure a lot of these submersible trips, I was talking to Tangi about this privately um one evening, and she's like, but imagine too the animals that come around and get affected by, these and gets traumatized by these submersibles, these vehicles, the military, how they impact their lives, and how at some point they even have to say at one point, this is our homes, stop with the invading, stop with like the harassment, stop damaging our home, our environment, and even them sending out that energy to start forcing that a change needs to be made. It's like humans wake up.
Well, it's
And
like the marine biologists and stuff that and groups that fight to protect marine life have had such a strong fight, especially with not just our military but other militaries around the world for the damage that they're doing to dolphins and porpoises
hmm
with the sonar,
yeah,
because that affects them, because that's how they communicate is via sonar. Um,
and my last three cards.
Food for thought.
Here's the ancestors card again when I asked about how the spirits feel. And I got ancestors, and a lot of them are saying that they're hopeful. They are hoping that from here on, people will be inspired now to design and create
Yeah,
proper vehicles to protect individuals, to keep them from thinking about going and disturbing mass grave sites for entertainment purposes, and to start um, thinking and acting and behaving from more of a empathetic, compassionate place instead of the 15 minutes of fame. You know, the influencers, everybody wanting that 15 seconds or so, and just having so much money. You know, this is one of the things. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tirade here for a second, and this has been pointed out by other people too. Each ticket was $250,000. These people were like billionaires, millionaires. Could you imagine just one ticket on this submersible? Do you know how many families that could have fed? How many homeless shelters could have been built? How much health care and medical attention could be given to research, to patients, people in need from low income, low socio and economic environments and neighborhoods,
yeah,
um, to helping, countries clean water. I mean, for God's sakes, from my last heard, Michigan and Flint is still having issues with clean drinking water. And it's been how many years now? And yet they have all this money to throw for, oh, look what I can do because I have money, where
yeah,
people are starving out on the streets, dying of disease and illness, for them to go on these. Okay, Heather,
yeah. You've
but
got people who
it's,
are homeless and you've got empty homes. It's like, okay, where's the disconnect here?
yep. And like
You
Amanda
know?
says, the
Um,
pollution is out of
and
control.
actually, just this morning, I read a little short article, a couple of paragraphs long, about Prince William, talking about one of his goals is he is selling several of his homes. I mean, he
Who?
owns Prince William, the future
Oh,
King of England, that he is in the process of selling
mhm.
several of his
That's his
big
husband.
estates in order to house the homeless, to turn them into, I guess, apartments or whatever.
And I don't think King Charles is trying to do that.
I don't know if the king is even aware of what it is. It was an article. I just happened to catch it this morning, and it was something about Prince William selling his house for homeless, and it caught
They
my
had
attention.
harvest again.
Harvest, yeah. So
Again,
I
this is
read
the
the
third time
article.
for
It
this
was like
card too.
3 paragraphs long. It wasn't very much, but they were just talking about someone had asked him about the homeless in England and how bad it is. And he said to whoever this reporter was that one of his goals is to sell off um, several of his
Hey,
estates
Willow.
in order to house the homeless. Now, when he says sell off, I don't know. I didn't, I didn't get the impression that he was looking to make a profit from it, but that he was looking to set it up so
Fertility.
that that these homes can be refitted to take care of their homeless people. And when I read it, I thought, God, what an awesome thing to want to do. It's. But anyway, what was the question we were pulling cards on?
Um, no, I was just asking if still the connection with the spirits that were connected to the site. How do they feel about? what happened, because obviously some half my cards were saying, well, for them it's a bit of a triumph because hopefully this will wake people up to stop coming
Yeah.
down and using their
Well, because I
gravesite as
pulled
a
when you were
tourist trap.
talking, and I just pulled a few cards. I pulled the Four of Earth, which just talks about being too frivolous with money.
Yes.
Uh, then I pulled the Eight of Air, which
Hi,
simply
Celeste.
says an illusion of being trapped, a lack of self confidence, afraid to take action. And then lastly, I pulled Eight of Water, and it just says a desire to move on, the search for something more meaningful, spiritual and emotional growth. So, I mean, perhaps what these poor souls in that submersible, it was perhaps that was their fate. That was their soul contract. That's what they signed up for, is to go out in such a way that it would shine a big bright spotlight on this kind of adventure.
Yeah.
And it's countries around the world that do this crap. Um,
I don't think they would.
Miss Terrell D, I don't think you could get the mega churches in this
No.
country
Especially
to,
Osteen and all of them.
let loose with a bathroom break, much less give up any of their excess property. I mean, when Houston got hit by, was it Hurricane Harvey several years ago?
Yep,
That hurricane sat there for like a week and a
I
half,
remember
sat
that.
on the coast and just kept dumping water, and everybody was going underwater. And there were several of those big mega churches
And yeah,
locked up their
Joel Osteen.
doors and wouldn't let anybody come in. And it wasn't until the news found out and shamed them publicly on like CNN and MSNBC and whatnot
Yep.
that they opened their doors to let people in, because they didn't want to let the wrong people come in to be, it might be some of those black or brown skinned people, or some of those immigrant people, or some of those
Hmm.
poor people, or I mean,
It's
it's like
disgusting.
isn't the whole point of you being a church to tend to be a
God's
shepherd
flock.
and tend to the sheep? I
Yep.
mean, that's what Jesus said you were supposed to do, not to make billions of dollars and have private jets and live in palatial
Yeah.
palaces. I mean,
Exactly, Amanda. Not even
or
on the
their
tax
tax status.
status.
Yeah. Um,
Especially Church of Scientology too, if you want to call it that.
oh, don't even get me started about them. It's
So,
it's it's finally coming back around again. What happened to Shelley Miscavige, the wife of
oh,
the guy that
it's
runs?
okay. YouTube. This is my opinion and entertainment purposes only, but I am not the only one. I've heard it, from a couple other channels. This woman is not alive. I don't think she is alive,
Yeah, I don't
because
either.
I think, from what other people said, she saw what was going on, and I mean,
She was
this man,
disposed of a long time ago. Yeah.
yes,
Um,
that's
I
a whole
know.
nother reading.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother show, man. I mean, we could really.
Oh my
You
God,
want to talk
yes.
about going to the pits of hell?
I mean, if you ever watched Leah Remini's
I
mini
watched. Yeah.
series on it, it's just enough to
And
make your
I
skin
remember
crawl.
when she was a Scientologist, and
And she asked where
people
she
would
was.
interview her, and she would talk about, oh, how wonderful, and da 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 da. And I remember just listening to her and some of the
Bye,
others,
Marina.
and think to myself, bye, Marina. It was like, really? I mean, you're willing to give up everything that.
And she believed it.
Hi, Teresa. Hugs to you too,
But then
darling.
when she
Um,
tried to ask where, just out of, where's Shelly? Why is she not here for her husband's birthday or whatever? And
it
she
was
was
Tom
questioned. She
Cruise
was,
and
yep,
what's the last one that he married that
um,
divorced him when he left
yeah,
town
I
for
could see her. Yeah, but
Katie Holmes, that's her name. Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. They had that big wedding Was it in Ireland or Scotland or Italy or somewhere like that? One of those big castle deals, spent far too much money for one night kind of thing. And Leah was the one that was like, "Where's Shelley? Why isn't
Yep.
Shelley here?"
And she
And,
got questioned. She put into
and
the
she pretty much got blackballed at that point
just for
from
asking a simple
being
question.
for just simply asking, "Where'd Shelley go? Why isn't she here?" And um and of course, since then, Katie Holmes, like uh, the other one that married Keith Urban, I forget her name,
Oh,
uh,
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman. Thank you. I mean, both of them, thank God, woke up enough to say, I'm out here. I know Katie Holmes did it. She waited until he
Yeah.
left. Yeah, that's right, Miss Tarot D. Leah Remini was basically born into it. Her parents joined it when she was very little, so that was all she knew. Um, but I know uh, uh, with Katie Holmes, she had to wait until Tom Cruise went out of the country for a shoot on a movie he was doing.
For her to escape. Yeah.
And she, packed a bag and acted like they were going to go visit family or whoever on the other side of the country. And she went running straight to daddy, who had already made all arrangements for her to get there and be safe. And I mean, they had the paperwork out ready and through the court before Cruz even knew what hit him. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and if anybody watches, really wants to know what they do to the families, if you try to leave, or even if they're, I mean, a lot of them, they will be watched. There will be cameras, and if you try to leave through a gate or something, if you could sneak out, they will chase you down in black vehicles to try to
oh,
stop you and
absolutely.
drag you back.
There was a
It's a bunch
lady
of
that was
cult.
on Leah's show talking about, once
Hi,
she
Miss
got
Tarot
out.
D. Thank you for coming, sweetheart. I
Hi,
hope you feel
darling. Have a
better.
good evening. Give hubby a hug. Um,
Oh yeah.
uh, but she had a lady come on that got out because they had hired a Hollywood crew to come out and do some filming in one of the estates that they've got there in California that she was on and couldn't leave. She
Mm-hmm.
was being she was there for
With
punishment.
spikes and everything. Yep.
And yeah, and she was part of the team that was supposed to help this outside crew come in and do some filming or something. And then she was part of the crew that was helping them load up their stuff. And when she saw the opportunity, she got in one of their trunks and hid. They didn't know she was there.
I
And they
didn't even know
drove
this
off
story. Yeah.
and left. I mean, they, yeah, we're done. Bye. And they drove off. And it wasn't until like an hour later before the people in the compound realized that she was missing.
Yeah.
And they went and hunted those guys down and they found them like, I don't know, next town, wherever, where they had stopped to spend the night before going in the next day. She had already gotten out of the trunk and disappeared. She didn't talk about if anyone helped her or how she got to where she got.
Nobody
But
watches movies anymore either.
I mean,
People don't realize how dark
when
Hollywood
the
is.
when the guys from Scientology found the crew and just demanded to go through their stuff, and they're like, "Dude, we don't know what you're talking about. We didn't bring anybody out with us. Why would we do that? Why would it matter if somebody rode with us anyway? But why would we do that?" And they let them search all their stuff willingly. They couldn't find any trace of her. I mean, but like she said, she ruined it for anybody else to ever try that because
Mm.
now they've got extra safeguards in place to prevent that from happening. But
Okay, so I pulled
anyway, so let's
some
move off on a
cards.
tangent there.
Yeah, we need. Yeah, I like to do a reading somebody
Sorry,
on
that
this.
presses a hot button with me.
Yeah, well, that would be a whole nother night we can get together and pull cards
Oh
on
yeah,
that. And we would have to really watch with YouTube, but you know what? It's entertainment, so and I'm not monetized, so they can bite me. I don't care. I'll
Hey,
talk
it's
about what
all
I
our
want to talk
opinion,
about on my channel.
and all I'm reporting is what I saw on somebody else's show
Yep. So
that NBC or Netflix or
allegedly,
CBS or whatever
entertainment
pays.
purposes only. So I went ahead and pulled some cards to see if will there be a criminal investigation, and I really think that there will be, and I and will yeah, and will they follow through with it? Definitely. I got integrity, most definitely. I got transformation. So there is going to be again transforming of rules, regulations, and this is really something that is important because when I first moved back to New York in 2009, just 1 month prior to us moving back here, there was a plane crash just outside of our airport, and it was a plane that was being flown by two pilots that had not been properly trained. They weren't aware of how to look for icing, especially at during February of the weather here, and ice had developed. They pulled out of autopilot, and the plane was just about ready to touch down, and it crashed, and it killed everybody on board, including somebody on the ground. And these families, over the years, have been fighting with the FAA and all other agencies for stricter training, for protocol, for everything. And this is what's going to have to be done for that transformation for these kinds of trips into water to be taken care of. And I know it's kind of a card that says joy. She's laughing, but this will bring relief. This will bring um, at least a sense of closure,
Mm,
of justice to the family. And when I say, and the last card was family.
yeah.
So it will definitely, a criminal investigation is imminent, and it will yield results, and it will help the families. I mean,
And
and families in the future to protect them from
when
anything
it
like
came
this.
to airfare and flights, there were very strict standards uh, that you had to follow. There was very strict testing and whatnot you had to go through to be like a
Mm-hmm.
flight crew person or someone that worked in the tower or in a plane. And they were all most of them were all unionized, and you had to go through all of that stuff
Indeed.
just to get in the union to get a job there, much less. And when a certain gentleman who became president in the 80s um, and wound up
Reagan.
getting his butt shot, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when he came along, his main goal was to break the union's back, and he pretty much succeeded in that. And it started with the air traffic controllers who were striking because they weren't getting, they were being overworked too long of hours. They weren't getting the breaks that they needed for the type of job that they held because it's very taxing, not just on the mind and the nerves, but on the eyes and on your reactions to stuff.
Yeah.
And because he was able to bust them, it kind of just the whole it just kind of tumbled down from there. But that's has since moved off into the maritime stuff where you see that a lot of boating and whatnot, they do not have the same standards that they had 40 years ago, you know, 30 years ago, even. Um, but most religious people are hypocrites, Teresa, in my
Not
opinion.
not all, but there
In my
there are
opinion.
some that are good, but others, I've been watching a lot of shows. I just saw
But yeah,
a
but as we were talking and knowing that, I pulled water codes,
ooh, let me
which
pull you up
talks
so I
about,
can see that. That's beautiful, those cards.
yes, these are really
I gotta
gorgeous
get those. Water codes.
water codes, and it says ancient wisdom. The intelligence is within you. So I think that that's what they're reminding us
Yeah.
of.
Ancient wisdom.
We've got the wisdom. We just have to step out and doing something. And then I pulled the sacred well,
Oh, that's
and it says
beautiful.
replenishment, self care, giving from a place of plenty. In other words, when you have the ability you give to others.
Hmm.
That's part of service. That's the one thing that Jesus taught that 99.9% of Christians don't follow.
Hmm.
That they used to follow, but they don't anymore. I mean,
I think they
uh,
definitely did.
the
But yeah.
Catholic Church used to be excellent at it. Not anymore. Um,
Mhm.
and the last one I pulled is a card you keep pulling, Metamorphosis.
Yep. Things are going to change.
And it just says, embrace transformation. Things are now different.
They sure are. There's
Yeah.
no going back. And
And
I
that's
have
just
all
from the
the other decks
oracles.
that Rebecca Campbell put out, and I just love her decks. I didn't know she had a new one, so thanks for sharing that.
This
Now,
just
is that
came out
released?
like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I got it in May, but I couldn't show it. We got them early. Yes, I got
Oh,
this deck and I got the Healing Spirits Oracle deck. And both decks we got them 2 to 3 weeks before they were being released to the public.
mm,
We got them early
get
through the
that.
club, and but I couldn't use them and show them on air until they were released publicly. I mean, I
Gotcha.
probably could have, and nobody would have said anything, but I wouldn't have felt right about it because,
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as they were released, I posted my
Night,
flip.
Andrea. Thank you
Hi,
for stopping
Gabrielle.
by.
Have
Have
a
a
good
good
evening.
night. So yeah, we are at an hour.
Wow,
That's
already.
pretty much. There are certain questions that I will probably ask privately of myself. Not really meant for YouTube, but do you want to do a collective for everybody to send off in a positive light?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
Um,
That feels right.
I think I'll grab one of Rebecca's decks too that I have right here. The healing vibration or healing messages or heal your light.
There you go. Um, and I like these. They're a little big. They're kind of hard to shuffle with this deck, but the cards are just stiff enough that they're not like flimsy, but they're just stiff enough that you have to kind of get creative with it. Shuffle.
Tanya, that is something that I'm very passionate about when it comes to Hollywood and politicians and everything, thing problems with trafficking. So that's something definitely that we could probably cover when Sherry and I can set a date and if you're
Oh,
still interested
absolutely,
and read on
absolutely.
that and a couple of other because a lot
I
of people
mean,
don't want to believe that their favorite actors or actresses are connected to dark sadistic practices and things, and people have
there was
no
one
idea
couple
what
that
goes
just
on.
got. There was one couple that just wound up getting sentenced to almost life imprisonment because they were running a sex slave trade out of Hollywood. I mean,
Yeah. Well, the Hollywood elites do it themselves. I mean, it's just awful. But yeah, I would love to read on Isaac Cappy.
hi Willow. I didn't even realize you were here. I'm just now seeing you.
Oh
I'm
yeah, Willow's been
sorry.
here with us pretty
I
much
know.
almost from the beginning. Yeah.
I'm just now I looked at the chat and her thing was
Good
right
night,
there. I was like,
Willow. Thanks for
"Oh,
hanging
Willow's
out with
here."
us.
Good night, Willow. I'm glad you were here.
See,
Oh,
exactly, Amanda. For me, I know a lot of people are very passionate about politics. For me, I'm very passionate about shedding light on the problem of trafficking children, women, men, and how people who, no matter, what party
was
you are,
so much
what part of the world, and it doesn't matter what,
so much of politics runs through so much that needs to be dealt with. And it's because
and there's a lot of,
politicians have been corrupted. I mean, look at our Supreme
oh,
Court and the crap that they've pulled this week. I mean,
I don't watch the news, but I caught a little bit of it.
corruption on top of corruptions. It boggles the mind.
One hand just keeps wiping the other, you know, smoke and mirrors.
And it just I mean,
I don't
I
have
got
much
to
time for
where, as
something
much
at
of
the
a
moment.
news junkie as I always was, it, excuse me, it got to where I had to stop watching it.
Yeah,
It
I
was
don't watch it
starting
at
to
all.
affect me physically. And it's like I'll watch or listen to just enough to kind of get a basic grasp of what's going on. And that's as far as I let it go. At that point, I'm like,
Well, I have some nice messages here.
I do too.
You're all set, or are you still pulling?
Yeah, I can go if you want.
Here, there you go.
First one I pulled was the Healing Lagoon again.
Again,
And rejuvenate, recovery, time to heal, and it's safe to stop. So that's a good little reminder for us. And then I drew the mist again.
again,
Um, trust your inner compass, be led from within. And then the last card I drew was the sacred well again.
again.
Drawn it twice
Sounds
now
like
already.
Allison pulling the same cards.
Replenishment, self care, giving from a place of plenty.
So,
I think it's just,
yep.
I think you're right, Allison. Yeah, people are just
We
people.
all eat, sleep, shit,
Um,
and fart. Nothing. There's nothing.
I mean,
Sorry for being crass.
yeah.
I'm not supposed to.
I think basically spirit's just trying to let us know that the ability to recover society, the ability to become rejuvenated is within us.
Hmm.
We just have to be willing to take the steps to get there.
Open our eyes and be willing to do
Yeah.
what's necessary to make the changes. And sometimes that's more scarier to people than playing along and just accepting you know
Well, and so
things
many
as
people
is.
get so wound up about some of the silliest stuff. It's like, really? That's what you're upset about with all that's going on. That's what you're upset about.
And I've got perfect cards to go with those. Wait till you see these. Well, okay. First, I got Imrama, and Amanda. This goes with too what you were just saying, because Amanda said this conversation makes me realize I need something to sink my teeth into, a
Mhm.
cause or causes that matter to me. And guess what, Amanda? Imrama, where are you being called to journey to? So for a lot of us, this is that call. A lot of us need to answer, whether it's lobbying for, or not even just. And when I say lobbying, I don't mean like going necessarily to Washington, but just sharing your
What are you
wisdom
passionate
into
about?
going to places in your community and talking to people, not just in your community, but even in your inner circles. Getting conversations started. And then again, I got High Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? So there again,
There you go.
listen to your heart. Where is it leading you? What do you feel? Where can you feel that you can make the most difference? I got the Akasha. Your guidance is divinely guided. So meditate, ask your guides, connect with your higher power. You know, lead me to where I need to go to be able to do what it is that I need to do. Or if you're not even quite sure, ask Spirit to guide you to who you can help. And this may be just individual people along the way. It may not be one big main cause or one organization you go straight. It may be just, you know, people that you meet on the street every day and you smile at them, because for all you know, that could have been the thing that got them through and saved them that day. Those little things are also beautiful and powerful gifts. And the last card that I got, Council of Light. Whoever your higher power is, you have the help, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realms. So I think these are beautiful readings to take us out tonight for something that was a heavy subject, but just really another message stating that we need to get to a more spiritual place, start choosing safety, love, compassion over greed, ego, you know, power over. So,
Something I would like to, and I meant to say something earlier and I forgot. A member of our community,
influence.
Tanya Stringley, Strangely, something like that. Tea Time with Tanya is her show that she does like every day. She was attacked last night. She lives in Las Vegas. She was riding her bike, minding her own
My
business,
God.
and a guy jumped out of his car and beat the living shit out of her.
Why?
There are two videos she's posted. She's in ICU still.
Oh my
She was
God.
the last video I saw. She was still in ICU, waiting for a second MRI to be run. Um, I
Prayers
mean,
to
that
her.
woman's face is so swollen. Her neck and everything. She's got like bleeding on the brain from this. Her eyes were swollen shut. This guy wailed on her, and she doesn't know why. She doesn't know why he attacked her. What did she do to offend him? She was just riding her bike down the road. What the hell? I'm like, yeah, you're a woman. You're a black woman. You're a
Oh,
gay
she was a
black.
black. Oh no.
You put the pieces together, and maybe it had nothing to do with those three things. But I'm
He might have
sorry.
just had a break, but
Uh,
still, no.
I mean, and now he's in jail. According to the last video she released, he's in jail, and she said, "I am going to be pressing charges." I was like, "Yeah,
Oh,
damn
so
right."
she survived.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, she survived. Um, she put out a
What's her
video,
channel?
Tea Time with Tanya,
Anya.
Tanya. Um,
You go over there and give her some love and energy.
uh, I know that she's
Right.
asking for any help monetarily if people can pitch in $5, $10, whatever, because she's going to have one hell of a hospital bill. Now,
Yeah.
she just went through cancer last year. She literally disappeared from the circuit for like a year as she went through chemo and everything. And it took a bunch of people saying, "Girl, we don't care if your hair fell out. Come back and do what you love." She
Yeah.
did a reading on me over 2 years ago when I first started
Oh
dipping
wow,
my
so she's been
toes into
around for a while.
this. And she was spot on, like scarily spot on. And I was like, whoa, it really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. And she's just the sweetest, kindest lady you would ever want to meet. Um,
Well,
but
I'll
yeah,
check. I'm going to check her
she's
out as
released
soon as
a
we're
few
over.
shorts, videos that are under 2 minutes long. Just, I mean, the first one she released, it was like, oh my God, when I saw that this morning, I mean, my brain went into meltdown. I was like, what the hell, Um, but she needs a lot of healing energy sent her way, a lot of prayers sent her way. Yeah, money that'll come whenever she
Mm.
needs it. It'll show up. Spirit will provide it. But right now, she needs not just her body healed, but she needs her spirit and her emotional self healed, her soul healed. I mean,
This sounds like what happened a couple months ago to the
yeah,
drummer of Def Leppard, Rick Allen. He was outside having a smoke, just minding his own business. They were, taking a break from setting up for a show. Out of nowhere, this guy was waiting behind a pillar, and he just jumped on him, started beating the shit out of him. And when
yeah.
someone tried to come and help him, that guy threw this girl off, and then thankfully another person came and took the guy off of him. And he's okay, but he was like, I don't know what people are snapping, and I don't know if it's because he had a disability and it triggered him. Like this
Allison,
guy
from what
has.
I understand, Allison's asking, there was no altercation. From what I understand, from what she's released in her videos, she didn't know who this guy was. She'd had uh no communication with him, no interaction with him. She was riding her bike down the road. I don't know, going home or maybe going to get something to eat or so. I don't know what she was doing, but she was riding her bike, minding her own business. This guy
Nice.
drove up, jumped out of his car, and just started wailing on her. And from the looks of her, it looked like he beat her with more than just his fist. I mean, it was horrific looking.
Allison said she saw her
Yeah,
post,
you
so
saw the
I don't
post.
even know who
Yeah.
she is. Okay,
Um, and
I'll
I
have to go check
mean,
her out.
it was, I was just, and all I kept thinking of is who would want to beat up on this woman who is so sweet and so kind. I mean, I don't know her personally. I had a reading from her once. I've watched her shows several times. Um, she tends to come on regularly at a time when I'm not able to really watch because I'm at work. And during that time period, I'm usually in meetings. So it's just not possible. Um, but I was just floored. I mean, the first
Willow
thing I did
says,
was I emailed Linda Grindle and I said, "Hey, we got someone in our community. You need to ask for prayers. Here's the link to the video. Go watch it yourself." By this afternoon, Linda was talking about it and telling people, "Y'all need to pray for her. You need to send her some money, whatever." You know.
Willow
Uh,
tapped into what happened, and she said his mind is so muddled, his anger overcame his control. He has no recollection of what triggered the attack.
yeah.
I
I
could
mean,
just be there's just so much evil that people are just susceptible to everthing that's going on in the world with all
it's
the
like
hate that's constantly being driven
Pandora's
into us.
box has been opened. It is like all of this
Pandora's
anger
box.
has been let out,
Yeah.
and people literally don't know what to do with it, and they're
People are
just.
afraid. And so
It's like
the
they're losing their minds. It's like what on earth, So I mean, I just wanted to, not to end on a bad note, but just if I mean, if you got $5,
hmm
great, send her $5. I'm sure she can use it. I know what that's like when $5 can make or break you for the day. Um, but more than anything else, man, just send prayers, send lots of love, send healing energy.
Yeah,
Um,
after we're done here, we should all just kind of. I mean, I feel like I know I'm going to go
yeah,
over to her
I've been
channel. I'm
doing
going
it
to
off and on.
subscribe. Send her just start hitting her post with just letting her know we all love her, whether you want to subscribe or not,
Give
and
me
just saying,
just half a second here,
yeah,
um, and I will.
Sonia, yes. Anyway, yes. Let's go out on a positive note. Love
I will.
everybody here and beyond. Definitely, Sonia. And you're right about the Epstein, but that's for another episode I want to do too.
Yeah.
People say
Okay.
I'm a conspiracy
Uh,
theorist, but you know what? There's a bit of truth where that started, and sometimes people don't realize there's a lot
it's
more to
Stingley.
that than there is.
Yeah.
What is it?
Stingley. Stingley. Here
L
is
E Y.
her. There's her YouTube channel. I just posted it.
Okay.
Because I knew I had it saved.
Bye,
Um,
Allison. Thank you again for being here.
thank you, Allison. Bye,
Yeah,
sweetie.
between Isidore, between the pandemic
Um,
and him. Yeah.
yeah. So I just it just really hit me hard this morning when I saw that first video. I was like, what would ever make someone do something like that? I mean, if she'd been on the side of the road taunting him or throwing stuff at him, well, I could see him getting pissed off and jumping out, beating the hell out of her.
Yeah.
She was riding her bike down the road,
Yeah.
and got blindsided with this. So it was like, what the hell? What's wrong with people? That's the question. What is wrong with people today? It's like they've let the evil just take over.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say the evil's been there, but it's been given the ability to
it's
release
been
itself.
released.
It's been, yeah. It's like people are now being given the go ahead because they can see everywhere on the news. I can do a hate crime and I won't be prosecuted for it. And
And now you have the Supreme Court making decisions that, yeah, it's cool. You can deny people because they're gay or lesbian or whatever, or, um,
well,
yeah,
until people
there's no
start
more, there's no
building
more
reality in
racism in
this
this country,
country.
so we don't need affirmative action. So,
I mean, look at France. Those people are non relenting. They are demanding change from their government, not just sitting back and looking at and going, well,
yeah,
those people are really fighting for. I mean, we should all take a page out of
yeah.
their handbook.
And
So,
apologies to everybody for how rough I look today. I literally didn't get dressed until
oh,
half an
Sherry,
hour
look at me,
before.
for Christ's sake.
I mean, my hair is
Women,
dirty, is
women is
back in a
for
ponytail.
everybody.
I went and slapped
Remember
some
that.
eyeliner on so you could actually see that I had eyes. Um,
Yeah, I put
I
makeup
didn't
on for
get
the
dressed
first
until half
time.
an hour before the show. That's
I
when I got
put makeup
dressed.
on last night for a live for the first time, and I don't even know if I've ever put makeup on for a
I'm
live.
I've
but
been
I
in my
got it for
moo
Miss
all day.
Charity and Miss Sachet. Let me tell you.
I've been in my moo all day long. It's like
Yeah, it's been
at
too
one
warm
point,
to do much
son
of
was like,
anything.
"Are you gonna get dressed today? I need a ride." And I'm like, "I wasn't planning on it, but if you need to go somewhere, I'll go get dressed and take you where you need to go." Because he can't drive the rentals. So
Yeah, you're all family, no worries. So everybody,
cool.
thank you for joining us. I'm going to go finish the rest of my dinner. I'm going to kick back. I got to take my meds too, Sherry. I think you've got ones that you got to take as
I
well.
snuck mine in between readings.
Oh, okay. Well, I got to go get mine in now. So everybody, thank
um,
you. And thank you for your
Thank y'all for
support.
coming and letting us read
Yeah.
on this. I
Yeah.
didn't.
And being respectful too and understanding because not everybody, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
I've been accused of what's it, sensationalization,
sensationalizing.
sensationalizing for ratings and stuff. And this is just stuff. These are things that I choose to read on, and it's not from a place
Yeah,
of that. But people
when
know
you
me.
emailed me, I was like, well, I don't know anything really about it, but a little bit. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm perfectly cool with it because
I'm not afraid to
I
talk
know
about
where
it.
your heart is when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You're not in it. You're not trying to
make a book or anything. No,
make
just
points off of it. You're just simply have a need to know why did this happen.
and to expose stuff if you have to. Sometimes things, but like always with YouTube, everything's alleged, everything's for entertainment purposes only, and it's just a couple of old broads here reading cards.
There you
All
go.
right, Terry.
Um, Tomorrow afternoon, I'll be on with Juno. We're doing our regular
Yes, so check
flows and
out Sherry
fortunes.
with Juno. I will try. I got a full
Four
moon to
thirty,
Nirvana tomorrow at
yeah,
7.
4:30 Central. And Tuesday, I'll be on Sun Psychic Jean's channel.
Very
She
nice.
invited
I
me
got to
to
invite
her
her on.
channel. Jean is so sweet, and I was
She's
like,
on my list.
absolutely,
Yes.
man. I said, I'm off that day. I can come on.
Woohoo! And everybody, again, have a beautiful Canada Day. If you're our neighbors in
That's
Canada,
right. Happy Canada Day.
have a safe 4th of July. If we don't see you in another chat
Stay
before
off
then.
the streets. There's too many drunks that's going to be out.
And everybody have a good night. Bye.
Bye, y'all.